Off the eastern shore of Pompeii, in the vast blue expanse of the Pacific, ruins rise from the sea. Towering basalt walls, canals winding between islets, silence broken only by waves and wind. This is Nan Madol, a city without roads, built entirely atop a coral reef. Over 90 artificial islets, separated by tidal channels, connected not by path but by water. It is no written history, no known blueprints, no firm date of origin, yet the stones still stand. Some installed as modern buildings, some weighing 50 tons or more, transported without wheels, without cranes, without iron tools. Just stone, sweat, and mystery. Locals call it the Venice of the Pacific, but it feels older, more sacred, like a dream carved into black rock. Western explorers first documented it in the 1800s, but the city was already abandoned, quiet, crumbling, slowly being reclaimed by mangroves and sea. Archaeologists would come later, armed with maps and theories, but none could explain it fully. Who built this city of stone? Why here on the water? And how did they lift such massive columns across the reef? Oral tradition speaks of the brothers, sorcerers from a distant land. They came by canoe, bringing knowledge and magic. Alicipa and Olosopa, they summoned the stones with chants, commanded them to rise and float, built Nan Madol to honor the gods. Some say they defied gravity, others say they summoned giants. But the city they left behind is real, measurable, weathered by centuries of storms, yet still standing. The basalt logs fit together like puzzles. No mortar, just precision, like something built by engineers far ahead of their time, or by something not entirely human. The city sprawls across 100 acres. Its canals still flow with tides. Fish dart between fallen columns. Crabs scuttle across ancient courtyards. Nature and architecture. Locked in silent negotiation, the outer walls form a barrier, as if guarding secrets, as if keeping something in or something out. Within the complex lie tombs, platforms where high priests once stood, chambers that echo with wind but no voice. It was not a city for commoners. Only nobility lived here. Only priests, the sacred and the elite. Power ruled from these black walls, and fear followed close behind. According to legend, Nan Madol was cursed. The rulers demanded loyalty and blood. Offenders were cast into the sea, their bones left for the eels. Spirits were said to haunt the canals, watching, waiting. The last of the Sottler dynasty fell in violence. Uprising swept through the islets, and the sacred city was abandoned, left to the ocean. Today, the site lies remote. Few tourists visit. Fewer still understand what they're seeing, but the feeling is unmistakable. You walk among the ruins and feel watched, not by people, but by time, by memory, by something older than language. The walls don't speak, but they remember. Every stone holds a secret. Every channel reflects a ghost. You can't visit Nan Madol without feeling it. The weight of the impossible, the breath of something sacred, the hush of ancient hands still shaping the sea, a lost city, or one that was never meant to be found. They say history repeats itself, but what about the parts we forgot? Welcome to Echoes of History, the channel where we dig up the dusty corners of the past to uncover the weird, the wild, and the wait, what? Stories they didn't teach you in school. Grab your curiosity and maybe a cup of tea, because what you're about to hear might just change how you see the world. The basalt columns of Nan Madol rise like organ pipes from the reef. Hundreds of thousands of them, each carved and placed with uncanny precision. But how did they get here? There are no known quarries on the islets. No sources for basalt nearby. The nearest location is miles inland on the main island of Pompeii, across dense jungle, up steep mountains, through rivers and swamp, and then, somehow, across the open sea. These stones can weigh as much as a car, some even more. Traditional explanations strain under the weight. Log rollers, some suggest bamboo rafts. But basalt doesn't float, and the terrain defies carts or dragging. There are no wheel tracks, no. Remnants of transport tools, just the stones, laid neatly, stack upon stack, row after row, creating temples, tombs, causeways. No iron tools were used, no pulleys, no levers known, just hands, and some say magic. The legends of Alicipa and Olosopa tell us more. They were not mere men, but demigods, who brought knowledge from beyond. They commanded the stones to fly, chanted the basalt into obedience, and the city rose from sea and spell. It's easy to dismiss as myth, until you stand there, amid pillars that defy reason, in the heart of the Pacific, with no logical answer in sight. Archaeologists propose other theories, that it was built slowly, over centuries, by thousands of workers, with simple tools and endless patience. Perhaps, but still the precision astounds, the symmetry, the ambition. Why build on a reef? Why haul such immense weight into the sea? Why construct a city where nature must constantly be battled? Was it symbolic? Sacred? Did the ocean itself hold meaning? Or was it practical defense? Perhaps. An island fortress against enemies? The city's design suggests hierarchy, ritual, a society governed by strict rules, high walls, shielded inner sanctums, outer platforms, house guards or servants at the core. The tombs, burial sites for kings. For the Sottler dynasty, the rulers of Pompeii, they claimed divine right. Enforced order with fear, their rule was absolute, their rituals demanding. And Nan Madol was their temple and throne. But they didn't build it all. They inherited it, expanded it, made it their seat of power. But the foundation was older, much older, some believe. Radiocarbon dating suggests construction began around the 8th century. But others point to signs of deeper antiquity, stone erosion that would take millennia, coral formations growing between layers. Geological hints that this city might predate even the Sottler. Could Nan Madol be older than written history suggests? A relic from a forgotten civilization, one that left no name, no books, no art but stone. A city built for gods, perhaps, or by them. The questions outnumber the answers, and each theory opens new doubts. The more you know, the less you understand. That is the paradox of Nan Madol, a marvel of engineering without engineers, a capital city without a country, a sacred site abandoned to silence, and a history written only in stone. Stone without time. Long before European maps charted the Pacific, Nan Madol had kings. Their names carried weight. Their word was law. This was the Sottler dynasty. They ruled from the stone city like gods among men. According to Pompeian oral tradition, the Sottler were not native. They came from the sea. Just like the twin sorcerers who built the city, far and powerful, their arrival changed everything. They claimed divine origin. Their rule wasn't questioned, it was feared. The Sottler kings imposed a rigid theocracy. Religious ritual governed daily life. No decision could be made without spiritual permission. Commoners bowed not just to the king but to the gods he channeled. Every stone in Nan Madol reflected this divine authority. The city became a stage for ceremonial power. Only the elite could enter its sacred walls. Each island had its purpose. Some held priests, others warriors, still others sacrifices. Peasants lived outside the city, on the mainland. Their lives were labor, hauling stones, growing crops, feeding the spiritual machine of Nan Madol. The king lived at the city's heart, surrounded by water, isolated from his people, elevated, untouchable. This separation wasn't just symbolic, it was enforced, forbidden to approach. The people feared punishment or worse. Dissent was crushed, spies watched the villages. Punishments were harsh, swift, and final. Yet, the dynasty endured for centuries. Stability came at a cost, and fear was the currency of peace. But no rule lasts forever. Eventually, the fear turned inward. The kings grew more cruel, more paranoid, demanding greater tribute, enforcing stranger rituals. Stories tell of executions over spilled coconuts, of forced labor until collapse, of sacred taboos that changed on a whim. The people began to whisper. Hope returned in legend that someone would come to end the Sottler reign. And someone did. A warrior named Asakelical, said to be of divine descent. Like the kings he came to defeat, he arrived not with an army but with vengeance, a storm, a war cry, a reckoning. The battles were swift, the kings fell, and Nan Madol was no longer sacred. Asakelical declared a new rule, looser. Decentralized, he became the founding father of modern Pompeii lineage. His descendants would rule, but not like the Sottler. The stone city lost its grip on power, its rituals abandoned, its walls left to moss and tide. Nan Madol became a memory, haunted by what once was. The people avoided the city, believing it cursed, that to walk its paths after dark invited sickness or death. Even fishermen steered clear of its waters. They say voices echo there, whispers in the tide. The Sottler might be gone, but something remains, something the people still fear. Ghosts of power never fade easily. The Basalt doesn't forget, and Nan Madol still holds secrets. For centuries, the city lay untouched, a puzzle hidden in plain sight, overgrown, crumbling, sinking inch by inch, a lost world, waiting, not for kings, but for questions, for explorers, for those brave or foolish enough to seek its truth, because the truth of Nan Madol may rewrite more than island history. It may shake our understanding of the ancient world, of forgotten civilizations, of what people were truly capable of before we believed they could be, before they were erased by time and tide. Long after the Sottler vanished, Nan Madol remained silent and brooding. Locals stopped calling it a city. They called it haunted. Few dared approach, and when they did, they came with offerings. Whispers spread of spirits who guarded the ruins, guardians of ancient law, of broken oaths and forgotten kings. To enter Nan Madol without respect was to invite disaster. Fishermen told of boats capsizing near the walls, of strange lights beneath the waves, of voices chanting in forgotten tongues. Not stories told for children, warnings passed down like truth. In Pompeii, legend is memory, not fiction, but lived experience. And Nan Madol was not just history, it was still watching. One tale tells of a chief who dared enter the site alone. He scoffed at the old taboos, called the curses superstition. He returned homesick, his body swollen. He died within the week. They say his shadow never left the ruins. Another story speaks of drums heard at night, rhythms no one had played in centuries, or footsteps along the stone paths when no one walked them. Some say the walls weep during full moons, salt water, or something older. Nan Madol, they believe, remembers. Archaeologists have tried to dispel the myths. They say it's just coral, basalt, erosion. Science offers structure, but not peace, because something deeper clings to the city. Something outside of measurement. The ruins feel alive, and the islanders feel it too. Generations have passed, but the fear remains, not of a monster but of disrespect, of crossing the line between man and God, between past and present. Some researchers tried to camp within the ruins. Lights failed. Equipment broke. They heard things, saw things. They never stayed long. Not twice. The walls rise like broken teeth from the sea, covered in moss, slick with ocean breath, like the ribs of a buried beast. The tide moves through its canals as if it knows the way, as if it's returning, as if something stirs beneath. Even satellite images feel eerie. The layout of Nan Madol is unnatural, too precise, too intentional. Every angle, every alignment speaks of a mind we don't understand. Who mapped the city from the ocean? Who designed a fortress for rituals instead of war? And why was it abandoned? Why so suddenly? What frightened them enough to leave it to the sea? Were the curses real? Or did something else arrive in scene, unrecorded? Disease, invasion, climate shift, or something more terrifying, an internal collapse, power imploding on itself? Whatever the answer, no records remain, no scripts, no documents, just stone and stories, and the lingering sense that the past isn't finished with us, that Nan Madol isn't done speaking, only waiting for the right listener, waiting in the quiet of the tides, in the hum of the basalt, in the eyes of those who still see shadows move across its walls, who hear drums no one plays, who avoid it, not out of ignorance but deep ancestral memory. They know what was lost, and what might return. It is not fear of the unknown. It is fear of the known, of something once real, still alive. So Nan Madol remains untouched. A sacred ruin, a warning carved in stone, a city built by gods or ghosts, either way too powerful to disturb. Researchers bring cameras, sonar, drones, but they always leave quickly. The city never welcomes. It only watches, it waits beneath the stars, where sea and silence meet, and the legend deepens with every year it survives untouched. Beneath the silence of Nan Madol lies something stranger than myth precision. The basalt columns are not random, they're cut, placed, aligned, balanced like logs in a giant's game. But this isn't what it's volcanic rock. Columns weighing up to 50 tons, stacked 12 meters, high, without mortar, without iron, and no written plans, just structure immense and exact. How did they cut basalt so cleanly? How did they move it across water? Who taught them this engineering? These are not crude ruins. These are advanced designs. Even modern engineers pause. Some theorize rollers or rafts. Others suggest pulley systems with coconut fiber. But the truth, we still don't know. The core used to source the basalt lies miles away, on the opposite side of the island, across mountains and dense forest. Yet here the stones are stacked with intention. Some believe they were floated using magic, or sound, or summoned by the high priest. But whether by physics or faith, the result remains a coral reef transformed into a city, walls rising from water like black waves, inner courtyards shielded from the sea, ritual altars, burial crypts, sacred pools that may have held the old symbols of royalty. Everything built for order, not chaos. Nan Madol wasn't just a temple, it was a system, a theocratic grid, a place where governance and spirituality merged. Even its layout reflects this hierarchy. The central outlets are for the elite, the outer ones for servants, guards, or pilgrims. It's a city divided not by wealth but by purpose. Today, the structures sink into the sea. Coral and barnacles claim what was once sacred. Roots now thread through royal chambers, but the stones endure, and the silence deepens. In 1939, an archaeologist named Paul Hamburg attempted to study the ruins. He mapped the islets, measured the basalt, collected legends from locals, but the more he uncovered, the less he understood. The ruins refused to tell a single story. They offered fragments, glimpses, suggestions of a world half remembered. He called it an island of forgotten purpose. And he left with more questions than answers. Later teams used sonar mapping. They discovered channels cut deeper than expected, and foundations that have extended beneath the reef, meaning parts of Nan Madol might be underwater, still buried, still untouched, waiting, but the sea guards its secrets, and time corrodes memory. Scholars have compared Nan Madol to Venice, or to Atlantis, but it is neither. It is its own mystery, rooted in ocean and stone, built not for commerce but for power, faith, and fear. Even now, it defies categorization, too complex for legend, too unexplained for science. Some call it the eighth wonder of the world. Others avoid naming it altogether. For to name is to claim, and Nan Madol resists ownership. It belongs to no nation. no empire. It belongs to the Pacific, to the waves that built it and the tides that remember. It may have been a prison for priests, or a paradise for kings, or both. And perhaps that's the point. Like all great cities, it held contradiction, majesty and mystery, order and oblivion. It rose from volcanic chaos to house the divine, and now it sleeps, buried in salt, memory, and questions. But the stones still speak, if not to us, then to the sea, in a language lost but not forgotten. Nan Madol does not appear in textbooks. It's rarely shown in documentaries. Yet, it exists quietly off the coast of Pompeii, rising from the sea like a forgotten dream. Most people have never heard its name. Fewer still can place it on a map. But for those who've seen it, Nan Madol lingers. It whispers something older than empire, older than even memory. Archaeologists continue to study it. They chart islets. They photograph stones. They interview local elders who hold the stories. But the city remains silent, not unwilling but unreadable. Theories swirl like mist. Some believe Nan Madol was built by giants. Others say aliens, or survivors of a sunken continent. These fringe ideas persist because the truth feels equally strange. A city of 100 artificial islets, built on a reef with no cement, in a place with no wheels, no draft animals, no writing. Yet here it stands, eroding slowly, but refusing to vanish. The builders are gone, their language extinct, their rituals abandoned. But the stones remain. Today, Nan Madol is protected. It was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2016, not just for its beauty, but for its mystery, for its refusal to be explained away. Local legends still thrive. The site is said to be cursed. Tourists who disrespect it often fall ill. Islanders speak of ghosts, of guardians, of spirits who walk the stone corridors at dusk. Few stay overnight. Even fewer return. Bay, US. Governor once tried to sleep there in 1971. He awoke violently ill and left before sunrise. He never returned. Whether myth or truth, Nan Madol demands reverence. It was never built for tourists. It was a seat of sacred authority, a capital of ritual and control. Its rulers held divine power, and its priests governed through fear. The city, like a body, was a system. Its stones were organs. Its canals were veins. And the sea was its breath. It lived once, and perhaps it still breathes beneath the surface. The ocean remembers what we forget. Every tide that touches those stones carries story. Of builders long gone, of empires lost, of wisdom buried to deep to unearth. Yet in every aerial photo, every sonar scan, every cracked basalt pillar, we see shadows of what once was. Nan Madol forces us to ask, how much history is lost beneath the waves? How many cities sleep in silence? How much human brilliance has crumbled into coral? The ancient city teaches without speaking. That power fades. That knowledge erodes. But that legacy of carved deep enough can survive centuries. Nan Madol is a legacy in stone, carved not into mountains but into water. It was never meant to last, and yet it has. And its survival, it defies us. Defies our timelines, our expectations, our need for historical answers. It says, look closer, ask deeper, and know that not all mysteries must be solved. Some are meant to be lived with, to haunt gently, to echo quietly, like waves brushing basalt, like voices swallowed by coral, like time, whispering in circles. Nan Madol is still there, waiting, watching, remembering a forgotten city that never truly disappeared. That's it for today's Forgotten Tale. If this story made you raise an eyebrow, or don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that dusty little bell so you never miss another echo from the past. Drop it in the comments. We're always listening for new echoes. Got a weird bit of history you think we should cover? Until next time, keep your curiosity loud and your history weird. That's it for today's Forgotten Tale. If this story made you